Well, hello again, and welcome back to episode 24, titled My Tombstone If I Had to Do It All Over Again, and No Mayo for Me. Take note of this. This is what I would like on my tombstone. You have a right to kill me, but you have no right to judge me. And yeah, that's from the movie Apocalypse Now, and yes, it's too late for that. And yeah, I'll be back. But then again, I'm most likely going to be cremated, and that's way too long for a tombstone. Anyway. A friend once asked me the age old question, which I always despise: if you had to do it all over again, would you marry your wife again? So I said, why would I want to do it all over again? I already did it, and nothing against Mary, but why the hell would I want to do what I've already done? Unless somehow she is a different person, but even then, if I had to do it all over again, depending on what the word it is, I would not want to do the same thing. And I do hope that we all live again. Life is a blast, and I'd love to get a second chance. I don't get mayonnaise. It looks like paint and tastes even worse. I never understood the popularity of this crap, so mayonnaise is not on my menu. You know you're hungry when you approach a stop sign and you think it reads soup. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but this actually happened to me one day after visiting my son, and I hadn't eaten in several hours. Yeah, the mind is going. My granddaughter Solara has charm, in caps, and she is only 4.5 years old. She reminds me of Audrey Hepburn, who oozed charm. She has a captivating warmth and acceptance to her. She's elegant, graceful, lovable, and always pleasant. She melts your heart and soul, and she has you floating in her stream. This usually does not leave the child. It's hers for a lifetime. On the evening of November 29th, 2020, under a full moon following a rather disturbing week or so of bad news and emotional roller coasters, my mind took me down the path of past behaviors, choices, and personality types, and the following words came to mind that could describe my personality. I have not nearly understood most of my decisions and naturally regretted many of them. And here are the characteristics: enigmatic, self destructive, moody, oversensitive, and always trying to mask it, foolish, obsessed, perfectionist, unpredictable at times, exaggerated, annoying, erratic, singular, narrow, confused, silver tongued, jaunty, unromantic, which is very regrettable, hazy, masked, speculative, and vengeful. And note that very few, if any, of these descriptions are positive. Other than these accounts of myself, I'm not a bad guy, but I have to accept other people's inquisitions of me, though perhaps I'm giving myself too much credit. Most people probably don't give a crap. It's just life, and everyone has short memories and their own lives to worry about. And possibly I give myself too much credit. Normally, you wouldn't think that a professional sport could be evaluated simply for the number of games that are played in a regular season. But for myself, I think it's a fair judgment. And since the NFL plays only 17 regular season games, it is justifiable to claim that the NFL is the most intriguing and compelling sport in the world. And why, you ask? Each team has to carry 53 players on its roster to be able to compete. It needs to fill the roster for offense and defense, which includes quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, including tight ends, offensive and defensive linemen carrying the average weight north of 300 pounds, and many of them run the 40-yard dash below 5 seconds, which is synonymous with a train coming at you at about 23 miles per hour. They also need to carry linebackers and defensive backs and maintain special teams for kickoffs and punts, plus, and lastly, carry a punter and field goal kicker and backups for each position, thus the reason for having 53 players on your roster. The average career for a running back is approximately 3 years due to the speed, power, and size of the constant contact, which is quite violent. Playing in the NFL is not much different than being a gladiator during the reign of the Roman Empire, and that's only the physical side of the NFL. The schemes and designs on both sides of the ball are on the level of a space capsule. The game is without question the most sophisticated game on the planet. The more intelligent and quick thinking the quarterback is, the more likelihood of their success, injuries notwithstanding. The sophistication of play calling and design on both sides of the ball is incredible, especially in comparison to what the game was like 30 or 40 years ago. The QBs or quarterbacks on offense can call as many as 3 or 4 audibles for one play. These are names and designs for each play in reaction to the scheme of the defense on the opposing team. and all of this is fluid before the ball is even snapped. The quarterbacks have anywhere from 2 to 4 seconds, and 4 seconds is pushing it in most cases, to throw a pass as the protection from the offensive line is bound to break down from the monstrous pressure coming from the defensive line, not including linebackers, safeties, and cornerbacks blitzing from all over the field. When I view the games, it seems that on average, about every 4 to 5 plays, someone is injured, which is not surprising considering the strength, velocity, and power of the game. This is not the football that was played a generation ago. It's survival of the fittest, and the hits that come from all directions are gut-wrenching. For the life of me, I don't understand how any player survives a season of play. Back to my original statement about the game. Despite the power and sophistication of the game, the 17 games that are played each season in comparison to the 162 games in Major League Baseball, the 82 games played in both the NHL and the NBA, and the 34 games played in Major League Soccer, each game is significant in the NFL since hypothetically a record of 1-3 in your first 4 games greatly reduces the chance of you making the playoffs. In Major League Baseball, where you play 162 games, each game carries little weight until, of course, you're in the final few weeks of the season. When you play only 17 games before the playoffs in the NFL, each game matters profusely. And should you lose your starting quarterback or key players on either side of the ball, and your season may be over sooner than you think. And as Jerry Glanville once said, the NFL stands for not for long, and this statement is no joking matter. The intensity of 17 NFL games is ruthless. One play or injury can bring down an entire season, if not a career, and I've seen it happen on numerous occasions. That's not all that I find impressive about the NFL. The players, for all of their skills, mastery, and physical prowess, understand that it's just a game, and I never witness a player on a losing team look unappreciative or ungrateful. They always shake hands, hug, and chat with the opposing players and coaches, and seem somehow that this is a majestic game, as rough and tumble as it is, and that they're always proud to be a part of it. I played the game in midget football in high school and wish that I played in college because it is a wonderful game to be a part of, and it's no wonder that it has survived this long. The first game was played on November 6, 1869 in New Brunswick, New Jersey, featuring Princeton versus Rutgers, and this is the 101st anniversary for the NFL. And while I was on a trip to South Africa in 2016, we spoke about rugby with a local guide, and he proudly mentioned that the national sport contains some of the best athletes in the world. Don't get me wrong, I respect the physical requirements and talent necessary to play rugby, and that they play with almost no pads or protection. Realizing that I was a guest at his property and not wanting to get into an argument with him thousands of miles from my home, I nodded and agreed. But inside, I wanted to call him out on the differences between the two games, and that much more skill, strength, and intelligence is necessary to play in the NFL, despite the equipment disparity. And let's face another fact. On the whole, black men are better athletes than white men. They're tougher, faster, and stronger, which accounts for the fact that over 70% of the players in the NFL are black. Lastly, many thanks for all of the entertainment since I fell in love with the game back in 1961 at the age of 7. And I will stop here.